Have you ever sent a message and waited? You check your phone once, then again. An hour passes, a day passes, still nothing. At first you think they're just busy, but as the silence grows, your mind begins to tell a different story. Maybe they're angry, maybe they don't like you anymore. Maybe you weren't important to them in the first place. The strange thing is that being ignored often hurts more than hearing the truth. Why? Because the human brain hates uncertainty. When we don't know what's happening, our minds instinctively fill in the blanks. And unfortunately, our brains are biased toward negative explanations. Instead of assuming the best, we prepare for the worst. This wasn't a flaw. It was a survival mechanism. Thousands of years ago, assuming danger instead of safety kept our ancestors alive. But in today's world, that same survival instinct can turn a simple, unanswered message into hours of anxiety. What's even more surprising is that your brain doesn't treat social rejection as something insignificant. Studies have shown that the same brain regions involved in physical pain become active when we experience rejection or exclusion. In other words, being ignored doesn't just feel painful. It is processed by your brain in a way that's remarkably similar to physical pain. This is why silence can hurt so deeply. But here's where things become even more interesting. When people fear being ignored, they often react in ways that make the situation worse. They send another message, then another. They over-explain. They apologize for things they didn't do. They constantly seek reassurance. Without realizing it, they begin chasing attention. And the more desperately someone seeks attention, the less attractive they often become, not because they're unworthy, but because desperation signals insecurity. Confidence, on the other hand, comes from knowing that your value isn't determined by someone else's response. Now consider something most people never think about. When someone ignores you, it doesn't automatically mean they dislike you. They might be overwhelmed with work. They might have forgotten to reply. They could be dealing with personal struggles you'll never know about, or maybe they simply don't have the same level of interest. The truth is, most people spend far less time thinking about us than we imagine. Everyone is fighting battles inside their own minds. Everyone has their own worries, responsibilities, and distractions. Yet we often interpret their silence as a judgment of our worth. This is one of the biggest psychological traps we fall into. We confuse attention with value. But they're not the same thing. Someone can ignore a priceless diamond without changing its value. Likewise, another person's inability or unwillingness to recognize your worth doesn't reduce it. One of the most powerful shifts you can make is to stop asking, "Why are they ignoring me?" and start asking, "Why does their attention matter so much to me?" That question changes everything. Because often, the pain isn't caused by being ignored. It's caused by depending on other people for validation. When your happiness depends on someone else's reply, you're giving them control over your emotions. Real confidence begins when you stop measuring your worth through other people's attention. Focus on your goals, build meaningful friendships, learn new skills, take care of your health. Create a life that feels fulfilling with or without constant validation. Ironically, the people who attract the most attention are usually the ones who aren't chasing it. They have purpose. They have direction. And because they aren't desperate for approval, they naturally become more interesting to those around them. In the end, the opposite of being ignored isn't becoming the center of everyone's attention. It's reaching a point where your peace no longer depends on whether someone notices you. Because the moment you stop chasing validation is often the moment you finally discover your true value.